It's week 16 in the NFL, and let's get to this week's waiver wire picks right after this. What's going on, everybody out there? It's your boy, the WayneBreezie, Crystal Peachy B in the place, man. And we are here back on What's Your Fantasy? Welcome, everybody. Make sure you hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And feel free to become a member of the Breezy Bunch crew. Peachy, we are back for another week. I thought I had some water in here, and I absolutely don't. And, it's playoffs. And so for some leagues, the playoffs are just starting this week, and for some leagues, this is round 2 of the playoffs. And I just wanted to check in with you. How's it going with your fantasy playoffs in 2024?
Yeah, it's not going very well. Basically, last week, if you didn't have Josh Allen, your lineup was probably in trouble if you were playing against someone that did. Because, man, let me tell you, he saved a lot of playoff hopes for people. I think I had him in 2, and I think that was it. And then I had to play against most of the other ones had Josh Allen, so I'm like, whatever. But
yeah, like Josh Allen definitely turned up. Surpriser, Devontae Adams was dead in one half and came all the way to life in the second half. Didn't see that coming. It's a weird week. That's the crazy thing about the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, you thinking you strong, you undefeated, and then you just hit that one roadblock. And I mean, if you're undefeated, you had a bye, but you know what I'm saying? If you just hit that one team you play, and they just got all the right players that just decided to go off round 1 in the playoffs. So it was a crazy week. Definitely a crazy week. Let's get to this week's injuries because we got some news. We got some breaking news. Let's talk about the breaking news, actually, and how this might affect, some of the fantasy teams out there who has quarterback Kirk Cousins from the Atlanta Falcons. Peachy, what's the news about quarterback Kirk Cousins?
The $90 million quarterback, because that's what Atlanta is guaranteeing him, so that's what he's going to get paid. Kirk Cousins has been benched for rookie Michael Penix Jr., who's going to take over.
Let it happen. The rookie.
Yep.
Now,
the rook.
Everybody sees this a little differently. My take on this real quickly is you got to get this rookie some playing time.
Absolutely.
And so even though the Atlanta Falcons aren't mathematically out of the playoffs, Tampa Bay is winning the division right now. They're sitting at 8-6. Atlanta still has a shot. I think they're not really worried about the playoffs this season. They have a quarterback that is under contract that they're willing to pay. I think they need to see what they got Michael Penix because the draft is coming. And they need to see what this kid can do in actual NFL games, or do they move on and get a different quarterback? Like you know what I'm saying? So that's just my take on it. What are your thoughts about the situation? I know he's paid a lot. It's a lot of money to be sitting on the bench, but
somebody already broke it down and was talking about how he's paid like so many million for
guaranteed
the 15 games he played, and then like 11 million for each interception or something.
Jeez.
One thing about it, Kirk Cousins has been getting paid since he first came into the National Football League.
He's been franchise tagged at least 3 times. Made franchise tag money, got guaranteed money with the Vikings.
He was actually the first quarterback to get his contract fully guaranteed from Minnesota.
Fully guaranteed in Minnesota. He did his 4 years. And when Washington got the 2 years, I believe, on the franchise tag. Then the Vikings gave him the big deal, fully guaranteed, and then he got a big trade. They traded him.
Right.
And he got a bigger deal. They reworked the deal. Now Cousins on the season, 3,508 yards, 18 TDs, 16 interceptions, 88.6 rating. He's kind of like a mid-tier quarterback. I wonder if it's more of their scheme. He clearly doesn't have what he had in Minnesota with Jettis and Addison.
Right.
Definitely a difference. You would have thought though Kirk Cousins would have been able to help out guys like Kyle Pitts. Maybe the Falcons just aren't put together properly. That's kind of like what I'm thinking.
And the way that things are coming out of that organization, because that's what happens when your organization falls apart. 49ers fans should know that. That's what we're going through at the moment with some of our players as well. Kyle Pitts, his work ethic is in question. How much? Because remember, like at the beginning of the season when they were trying to say that some of this was on Pitts, it wasn't on everybody else, and then people were like, no, Pitts just needs the right quarterback. He didn't have a good quarterback. Kirk Cousins is gonna make sure that Pitts Kyle Pitts ain't done nothing this whole entire season. It's like he
may just be one of the biggest draft busts
right
of all time. Like,
isn't that crazy? But he might be.
But I see. Look, I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's. I'm not gonna say that it's not on Kyle Pitts. I'm sure he plays a part in it, but I don't think he was utilized properly. Like, from day one.
Right.
And how do you not get this freak of nature the ball? So that's just simple. Just give him the ball and see what he can do.
Exactly.
With it. So
yeah.
It's weird, but that's the breaking news, guys. So if you guys got Kirk Cousins this week, I'm about to go rack up and get all of those quarterbacks on the waiver wire. So I can't be beat. He's gonna be benched. I'm gonna pick up Michael Penix Jr. too. You know what I'm saying? Just because. Who they playing this week? Let's see. The Falcons. They have Who the Falcons got this week? Oh, they got the Giants.
Oh,
that's gonna be a good game.
It's a good game for
Tommy Maddox versus Penix.
And...
Yeah. 2-12 Giants. Atlanta sitting at 7-7. Let's get to the injury report because we got a lot of injuries. Yes. Few players that's gonna be out for the season, and I can't wait to get into the waiver wire ads.
All right, let me run through a lot of these real quick. Towards the end of the season, everybody in the world's hurt. So these are just a couple of highlights of the main players that can affect your fantasy team that we're talking about here. First, the season-ending injuries. Let's go with running back David Montgomery. Big. Wow. Yeah. So if you were planning on making your playoff run with him, you can scratch that because he is out for the season. And then we have running back Alvin Kamara, who has an adductor strain. Because the Saints are eliminated, they may not bring him back.
So all right, that so the Saints have been eliminated from playoffs. Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Running back Nick Chubb, broken left foot, also out for the season. This guy can't catch a break. He really cannot. And so now our big injuries we have that can really affect your fantasy season. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes has a high ankle sprain that they're trying to dumb it down, but doesn't look like he's playing against the Texans. So with the Chiefs already having their division sewn up, being 13-1, a lot of things out of the way, they're probably going to rest that this week so they can see how it is. So if you're going in expecting Pat Mahomes to do something, probably not playing this week. Quarterback Jalen Hurts has a fractured finger on his non-throwing hand. It's not a problem at the moment, but if he lands on it or something, it could be. So just keep an eye on that. And we know how Jalen Hurts likes to be involved in the tush pushes and everybody gets in the way. And so maybe he'll just give that to Saquon like he needs to do that in the first place. Geno Smith, lower leg injury. Not looking good for Seattle. Seattle's not, winning the division right now. It's the Rams. They're second. So we'll see what happens with Geno. It's not looking good, though. And we saw Sam Howell. So you guys should keep your fingers crossed that Geno Smith is able to play because, woo, Lordy. Okay. Running back Tony Pollard re-aggravated his ankle injury. It had been hurt, and then he hurt it again during the game. So not looking good for Pollard. So been on Tajay Spears there. Running back Jaleel McLaughlin, quad injury. It's not looking good for him this week either. Wide receiver A.J. Brown, ankle injury because of a hip drop tackle that's supposed to already be out. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. He says that he's going to be fine. We'll see if Philly takes a precaution on that or not. Wide receiver Jalen Waddle, knee injury. Definitely not looking good for Jalen. He was in an insurmountable amount of pain during the game when that happened. Wide receiver Alec Pierce, concussion. Tight end Zach Ertz, concussion. Tight end Will Dissly, shoulder. Xavier Legette, groin injury. Wide receiver Curtis Samuel, shoulder. So some of the, most of these are very significant. I've seen these on different people's lineups to take the place of other wide receivers that's already out or running backs or whatever. So to me, I think the most damaging to someone's fantasy would have to be David Montgomery.
Yeah.
It would have to be. Out of all these, it would have to be Montgomery.
Yeah, because he was a solid double deuce.
Yes.
17 to 20 plus points a game. He was getting the goal line touchdowns. He would always have a big run. And so that's going to be a tough one. I'm not sure who is going to take the place of David Montgomery. In Detroit, they do like to run the 2 running back system, so I'm not sure. Let me look at their depth chart just to take a quick look, just to see who else they have on their depth chart. But that's going to be a rough one. Also, like you said, the Patrick Mahomes one. If he sits, do you pick up Carson Wentz? Do you what do you think? That's going to be something that you got to look into. Craig Reynolds, and Sione Vaki, the rookie out of Utah. Those are the running backs that will back up. So we'll see what Detroit does.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a little rough for them
It's
moving forward,
It's definitely going
to close
to
out
be
the season. Yeah.
rough going for them. Luckily, they're in a pretty good spot where they know that they're going to be in the playoffs. It's just the seeding that could become a problem because they're still battling in their division with Minnesota.
Right.
So
they haven't won. Right. They haven't won their clinched their division yet.
Right. They're both, there. I think
the Packers are right behind them too. So
I think that they clinched a playoff position.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's at least a good thing. But you try to, get as high as a seed as you possibly can, of course. Another thing with Pat Mahomes is Travis Kelce, D-Hop, other wide receivers. We don't know what familiarity Carson Wentz has
They got
with
Carson
who.
Wentz. We know Carson Wentz is a former pro. He's a former starting quarterback. So I think they might even be better. This might be the week to start Travis Kelce. You know what I mean? This might be a big week for Travis.
Yeah, because he hasn't really done too much the whole year. So I guess
the defenses prepare for him and Mahomes. But if Mahomes is out, now they got to prepare for.
They're not going to know who
exactly. Exactly. So this could be a big week for the tight end, not named Noah Gray. Travis Kelce can gain some traction this week. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens. But what an injury report this late in the season. I mean, obviously you're going to get injuries, but we got some season-ending injuries to some 2 premier running backs. So let's not waste any time. Let's get to the waiver wire picks. I think we got some good ones for sure. Just going through the waiver wire, if you're in the playoff jam and one of your guys got injured, you might have to, settle for one of these dudes off the waiver wire just, to help carry you. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. To your at least to the next round. And I just want to put this disclaimer out there. You're going to be taking some chances on some of these players unless you drafted properly. You have guys already on your roster that you rather go with, but there may be a possibility because now we're talking about some of these injuries. We're talking about guys that will be number ones, right? Number ones. So let's see what happens with these waiver wire picks. All right, starting off, let's get to the quarterback. I don't think anybody's picked up Aaron Rodgers, and we told y'all last week to get Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers put up 30 points. And we're going to go through the top scores at the end of the show on this episode. But he put up 30 points and he made the top 10 scorers. Aaron Rodgers this week, the Jets, they got a pretty decent matchup. In my opinion, who the Jets got this week? The Jets are facing the Rams. I don't think the Rams defense is great. And Aaron Rodgers may be able to take advantage of that. They won a game. They might be trying to win another game. So I actually like this. And they're at home. The Rams are traveling to Aaron Rodgers. Thoughts on A-Rod?
I think that this is a really good quarterback. Like you said last week, we told people that they needed to go pick up Aaron. Unbelievably, this is a crazy year because Aaron Rodgers is available in quite a few leagues. So if you have Pat Mahomes or, another quarterback that's out, or if you're one of those that picked up macaroni and cheese Jones, you might want to get Aaron Rodgers to boost your playoff roster.
Yeah, I think that's really smart. Spot on. Going with the running back positions, the running back one, Jerome Ford. Nick Chubb went down. Ford came in, got the big run, finished the game big, and he's going to be the starting running back this week. He's going to be the starting running back. Who does Cleveland have this week, Peachy? Off the top, they got Cincinnati. Cincinnati's defense is terrible.
Trash.
Make sure you pick up Jerome Ford. Right.
He's going to run all over them. Jerome Ford, if you need a running back, this dude might get you over 100 yards this week and some TDs because and don't get flustered about the quarterback change that the Browns might make between Jameis Winston and whatever they call him, DTR or whatever they call him.
Dorian Thompson
Robinson, because it doesn't matter because this dude can do it all.
Yeah.
So Ford is a really, really awesome waiver wire pickup if you need a running back with all these running back injuries, especially if you got somebody like David Montgomery on your roster that you're going to have to put on the IR.
There you go.
You're going to have to think,
It's one of those players we were talking about. Second running back. Wait, listen, if we're going from and this sucks because he's been, one of the most consistent running backs all season long, and now he has this adductor strain, and Kamara's probably going to be out for the remainder of the season. But Kendre Miller, this is a kid you might want to pick up from the Saints. He's probably going to get he's going to get the start. He's going to get the rep. So if you're going from running back one's out, these are going to be running back one replacement. Sort of kind of like how Isaac Guerrero was to the 49ers. The Saints, they got the Green Bay Packers. I believe the Green Bay Packers, their linebacker Quay Walker's dealing with the injury, but they don't play them Monday night. And so this gives Kamara enough time, to kind of like heal up just to see what they're going to do. He hasn't been officially ruled out yet, but I'm going with he's going to be ruled out. You might want to pick up Kendre Miller. Any thoughts on him?
No, you pretty much said it all on that one right there. Definitely, if Kamara's going to be out, you just have to pay attention to what happens throughout the week. But if he's going to be out, then you definitely are going to want to get Miller and pick him up.
Yeah, make sure you go ahead and pick up Miller. So those are your two running backs. You got Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback this week. You got Kendre Miller and Jerome Ford as your running back one, running back two. Here's some wide receivers that you may want to go ahead and look at. Now, I know Mike Evans is tearing the thing up, but it looks like the rookie Jalen McMillan is doing a good job in that Chris Godwin spot for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He had a big game last week. He had a big game. He's been on our list a couple of weeks throughout the show on the waiver wire. I'm sure he went back to the waiver wire. Went back to the waiver, so make sure you look at Jalen McMillan. Any thoughts on this young kid out of Tampa Bay?
The only thing that I have to say is I'm glad that he's like being featured now because now the Bucs get to see what they have in this wide receiver, and it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't really blow up next season. So in the meantime, it's just him and Evans out there. Basically, because like Breezie said, Godwin is out. So therefore, He's definitely a great pickup, and there's a lot of wide receivers that are injured. So if you need a wide receiver, then definitely look at McMillan.
Definitely look at him. He put up 18.5 points last week. They're playing the Dallas Cowboys. Trayvon Diggs is out for the season. Listen, and I don't think Deron Bland is back. Like, their defense is pretty much shredded in the secondary. This kid can catch screens. He can catch across the field. This is what I was hoping we would have got out of Ricky Pearsall this week as a 49er fan.
Me too.
This season, excuse me. But so maybe next season. Maybe next season we'll see more of Pearsall featured
I hope so.
in the offense. But I only think he was featured because the injury to Chris Godwin. Like, he would have been sprinkled in.
That's true.
But now he's featured due to the injury. So that's our wide receiver 1 for today. Wide receiver 2, he probably should have been wide receiver 1. I don't know how Romeo Doubs is on somebody's waiver, but he was injured for the past 2 weeks due to the concussion, and people might have forgot about him. He was actually number 17th as wide receivers this past week. He put up 19 points. He was right in front of Jalen McMillan, who was 18th. Romeo Doubs from the Packers. It just seems like this is the Jordan Love connection. I thought it was Jaden Reed. Christian Watson's going to get an explosive player too, but it seems like Romeo Doubs is Love's go-to guy. What are your thoughts on Doubs?
And it seems like that when Dobbs is out there, that offense just looks a whole lot different and a lot harder to defend because Dobbs does not go down easy. and that dude can fly. So and that has really become Jordan Love's favorite target. Like, that's who he looks for out there. So definitely agree with that. So if he's out there on the waiver and you can get him, and again with all the wide receivers, like Breezie said, it should have been like wide receiver 1 because that's how he plays when he plays in the scheme in Green Bay. So
yeah. It's funny because I feel like he's their wide receiver 1, but he's not. I think Jaden Reed is their wide receiver 1. But like I said, you pick your poison with these guys. They're playing the Saints. I don't think the Saints defense is going to be up to par to deal with these wide receivers unless their front gets a hold of Jordan Love a little bit, and we'll see what happens. The Saints are scrapping. They're 5-9. But the Packers are looking to make a statement. They're looking to improve to 11-4. They're playing key. They're trying to, catch up to the Minnesota Vikings. They're hoping Minnesota loses to Seattle, right? And then it can kind of help even things out. It's 3 games left, and they still got to play. So it's a lot of stuff that could go down in the last 3 weeks of the NFL. But Dobbs is our wide receiver 2. Tight end, Brenton Strange. He's been on here before. The injury, season-ending injury to Evan Ingram lets me know that this might be a kid you want to pick up off the waiver wire. Tight end out of Jacksonville. And look, this is their tight end 1. He was number 2 tight end last week. He put up 18.3 points. I've had him before on my roster, dropped him once, came back. You might want to pick him up again. This seems like to be macaroni and Mac Wilson. I forgot what you call it.
Macaroni
and Cheese Jones. I sound like a character from Marty Marr from Martin. You might want to put. I don't know why I always get him. I put him and Zach Wilson together, and I call them Mac Wilson. I don't know why I do that, but that's what I do. So you might want to pick him up. Any thoughts on my man Brenton Strange?
First of all, that was a great analogy because they actually are the same. So I can see why you put them together.
I see what you did.
They're literally the same quarterback. We have talked about Brenton Strange on here before a while ago, but we did bring him up on here. So with the injuries to some of the tight ends, you may want to definitely pick him up. I think that's a great one. Jacksonville be scrapping, even though they're,
3-11. They be
I know
scrapping.
people are trying to say that these teams are going to start jockeying for draft position, but you still see these teams are playing hard. Like, it's not that important. Whenever you don't need a quarterback, I think that's what it is. And Jacksonville's one of the ones that doesn't need a quarterback. They are very comfortable with Trevor Lawrence. He'll be back.
Bingo.
And so definitely pick up Strange.
Bingo. Now, a team that they're playing against, the Raiders probably will be scrapping. There's no Max Crosby. He's been shut down for the season as well. And so I feel like Macaroni and Cheese Jones is going to probably go out there, and Brenton Strange and their wide receiver, the rookie Brian Thomas Jr., probably going to have a field day against this Raiders defense.
I was going to say that I 100% agree with that, especially because the Raiders don't even know who in the world they're starting at quarterback. And I don't think they care. They probably wouldn't even care if they didn't have to have a quarterback.
They're going to reach and get Sanders in the draft. So
right,
we already
because
know.
they are so entrenched in that spot where they are. They already know what they're going to do. So
yeah, good point. Flex wide receiver Rashad Bateman from the Ravens. Second time he's been on this list this season. You might want to pick him up because I can't tell you which wide receiver. I feel like Zay Flowers has never really gone off. And when it's a wide receiver, it's Rashad Bateman. So it's either Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman. They're going to have the weeks in the receiving game. And obviously you're going to get the Lamar Jackson and on the ground. And you know what I'm saying? So Rashad Bateman, he scored on this list. Let's see where he is on the list. He's the 10th receiver last week. Number 10 in PPR, 23 points. Put up a big game. The Ravens, unfortunately, are they playing anybody that is worth? No, of course not. Who the Ravens got? Oh, I'm lying. Divisional game. My bad. They got the Steelers, the 10-4 Steelers. And that's what I like about this, right? Because
the angry Steelers.
The angry Steelers, right? But Steelers got to go to Baltimore.
And TJ Watt is also banged up.
And TJ Watt is a little dinged up. And so I actually like this matchup. Even though the Steelers, I think they could take advantage and use his speed and take advantage of
yeah. I still like Bateman because I watched what Philly did to Pittsburgh. And I know it's a divisional game, but I agree with this flex spot for Rashad Bateman. It's really good, especially since apparently, things didn't work out with Deontay Johnson for whatever reason, that weird situation. But he's not a Steeler anymore, so.
He was not apparently.
It was wild.
What team is he on now? The Ravens?
Baltimore, yeah.
But he ain't really playing for them either.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They decided to cut him.
Oh, they cut him too?
Yeah, they
Damn.
had a John Harbaugh personally came out.
Yeah,
it was
I think
like,
didn't he complain about not getting the ball? I don't even want to get into it. Never mind.
Yeah, because they had put him out there for that one play.
Yeah.
And then they just took him out.
Yeah, they took him out. That was it. And I think he said something about it publicly.
He was wanting to know, why did you want me if you weren't going to use me?
That was crazy. Teams got to do better. All right, kicker, yes. You might want to pick up Boswell because I think this is going to be a field goal game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. If both defenses are playing top-tier football, it's a Saturday game, too. It's not on your regular day, right? So this is a Saturday game, 4:30 p.m., right? This might come down to some field goal kicking, and if you got Boswell, he might end up getting you 15 points. So you might want to go ahead and pick up Chris Boswell as the kicker. And as far as defense, I'm going Packers. I'm going Saints. I don't think the Saints have enough firepower to do anything to this Green Bay Packers. I think the defense comes out on point. Even without Quay Walker out there, I think the defense will definitely find a way to hold it down. And the offense will do their job and put up points to keep the defense from keeping, New Orleans out. Who's their quarterback? Is it Jake Hayner, I believe they'll probably go with. And if he don't work out, they'll go Spencer Rattler, right? So at the end of the day, I think that's the way you want to rock with your defense. And those are this week's Waiver Wire picks. Dropping bombs on them. Now, Peachy, before we get up out of here, I did want to go over the top 10 scoring leaders. Devontae Adams, 42.8 points. Your boy Josh Allen, 41.3. Jared Goff, 41.1. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 37.3. Mike Evans, 36.9. Lamar Jackson, 36.1. Brian Thomas Jr., who's on my bench, 32.5. James Conner finally showed up, 30.8. Aaron Rodgers, old man Rodgers, 30.1. And Baker Mayfield was number 10, and I didn't put his score up there, but he was the number 10th scoring leader. My apologies if it didn't get put up there, but I could get the Baker Mayfield one. Baker Mayfield put up 29 points, everybody, 29 points. Any surprises on this list? I'd like to get your surprise thought.
Old man Aaron Rodgers.
You knew it had to happen at some point, though, right? Like you knew the Rodgers was gonna come out at some point, right? You knew the connection between him and Devontae
was finally gonna come back. Yeah.
It just took a minute, man. It just took a minute, and again a second half minute because it was Garrett Wilson in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Breece Hall even played. I can't remember. I think he played, but I don't remember. I don't know if he did anything. Let me see if Breece Hall. I don't think Breece. Yeah, Breece Hall played. He put up 13.1 points, so he was out there, but he was 20th in running and PPR.
Right.
So, but they got the job done, and I think they got the Rams. Like I said, man, I'll be a Jets fan this weekend, and I'm hoping that they beat the Rams. Like go out there and beat the Rams. Go Jets. Jets. Jets.
Yeah. So I have a starting to sit for playoff people. Definitely need to start Jerome Ford. 100%. Like I said, he's gonna, when we were talking about during the waiver part, he's definitely gonna go off, I would say, for over 100. I would say the Cincinnati defense is oof. And then my sit would be Cole Kmet. Definitely would be Cole. I would probably tell you to just sit the Chicago team because I don't know what's going on with their quarterback. So
poor
I would
Caleb Williams. They got the trade too, so I get why you're gonna say that. But their defense isn't really defending the way that they normally do. I mean, if the Chicago Bears offense could put a string of series together and get points out of it, there's a possibility that this could end up being some type of a shootout. Maybe you get a shootout. I don't know. I doubt it, but maybe you do.
Well, we'll just have to see where the Bears mentality is right now, because now it's like all over the place, because that'll determine how much fight a team is going to have
Good point.
In a game where they're already eliminated. They're not playing a team that they can play spoiler for to mess anything up. And that's when you run into the problems of like, okay. So we'll see what happens though. But anyway, that's your start and sit.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all so much for tuning in to What's Your Fantasy. We got a couple more weeks of the show left. We got a couple of more waiver wire weeks we're going to add. We got 17, 18, 2 more weeks to go in the NFL. Then the real playoffs start, and hopefully we'll have some Super Bowl champions on this particular show that we can talk about. Hopefully myself, I'll win, and Peachy will win a league, and we can come up here and celebrate. But I can tell you right now, next season, I'm not being in more than 3-4 leagues. That's it. That's my max. That's my max. Guys, until the next time, peace out. Hey, look. Ruining dreams under pressure. Peachy be the one to bless ya, but don't test her. The queen reigns supreme, you know what I mean? Add the boy Breezy Prince like a king. When the two come together in any weather, they form a bond, stay tight in any measure. So it's my pleasure, the number one team. Let the world know what's your fantasy.